So it's time for the next installment. Join me with a tasty beverage of your choice close to hand while we begin the Long Hoya Tour Part 2. And today we're in the plant room. This used to be my guest room until I decided or realized that I had more of a need for a plant room than I did for a guest room. So I moved out the bed and some other furniture, brought in an old computer desk, and set up my plant room. Now, in the plant room, there are over 140 different kinds of Hoyas, plus Dischidia, plus orchids, jewel orchids, and there's probably a couple other things in there that I've just completely forgotten about. So I decided the approach to take would be to divide it up according to the walls. And so today we're starting with what I would refer to as the north wall. So with your beverage close to hand, let's take a look and take a walk down the hall. And at the end of the hall, we finally come to the plant room. And I thought I would start with a slow pan around the room just to give you some idea of how I have it set up, and move around and see what's here. So let's start off by taking a look at the plants that are on the top shelf of this stand. And this is Hoya species NR001. And next to it, we have Hoya incrustata, which is arguing with me from time to time, but it's arguing with me now. Next to that, I have Hoya, species Benkulu, Rindu rafflesia, that's doing pretty well. And to its right is Hoya verticillata, formerly known as Hoya acuta. And finally, in the back row, I have Hoya species AH074. Beautiful splashing on this one. And also on the shelf, I have my Hoya madulidii, a Dischidia rucifolia, outer variegation. I have my Hoya nicholsoniae, New Guinea ghost, which is doing very well. I have my little Hoya obcordata, which is starting to put out some nice growth. And finishing off this shelf is my Dischidia ovata, my Finlaysonii wide leaf, and finally, Hoya pandurata Vietnam, which is just a beautiful big plant. In the back row of the middle shelf, I have this Hoya mirabilis, and next to it is Hoya species IM08, looking very cute and starting to put out some nice growth. To the right of that is Hoya collina IR26, growing very nicely for me now. To the right of that one, I have Hoya parviflora splash with these beautiful, beautiful splash-laden leaves. And finally, in the back row is my Hoya sunrise, which has decided now that it likes it here and is going to start growing. And toward the front of this shelf, I have my Hoya clemenciorum, next to my Hoya undulata, which I think is getting a little bit too much light, and I think I'm going to find a better location for it. Next is my Hoya. Actually, no, this is a Papuahoya. This is Papuahoya species 01. And next to that is my latest addition. This is Hoya Songwookie. It's got beautiful splashing leaves, and you'll see this in an upcoming plant haul. And next to that is my Hoya Caudata Gold. Has some of the most beautiful caudata leaves around. And next to that is Hoya Kanyakumariana, which is getting ready to bloom again. Very cool. Finishing off this shelf is my Hoya Carnosa Compacta outer variegation, which is still mad at me for moving it to pond. And next to that is my new little Rotunda Flora cutting. And finally, this is Finlaysonii EPC 317. And that completes the middle shelf. And over here we have my Hoya Rosita, which is just finishing up blooming. And next to that is my Hoya Nicholsoniae, formerly known as Helwigiana, and it's starting to put out some new growth. To the left here is Hoya species NS 05055, followed by my gorgeous big Hoya Hushkeliana, which has been blooming up a storm for the past several weeks. My Hoya Nicholsoniae, looking very handsome. And finally in the back, I have my Hoya Finlaysonii, which may be putting out a new leaf after months of not doing much of anything. And finishing off the front row of the bottom shelf is my Hoya Cutis porcellana, which is putting out some new growth. My Hoya fuwaensis, which has just been blooming and growing like crazy for the past few weeks. Very happy with that one. Tucked in underneath here is my Hoya verstecki, and it has at last started to put out some new vines. Very cool. And last but certainly not least is my Hoya species Lei Chow round leaf. And that completes the bottom shelf. And then we have some plants that live on the floor in front of the shelves. This is Hoya maniparensis, which has just been blooming like crazy. Very happy about that. My Hoya kaimuki, which has decided to start putting out some major leaves. Next to Hoya Denisi Frida, and since I moved it to lower light, the color on the leaves has just gotten more beautiful, and it's putting out peduncles. So I'm very pleased about that. And on the end, I have Hoya species UT033. Next to that is my Hoya crassipediolata, which has been blooming. Very cool. I have my Hoya mengtsaensis. And finally, my Hoya subquintupleninervis outer variegation, and this one is known as New Moon. And that completes the Hoyas and plants that are on this shelf setup. And next to that shelf system is my Hoya Kamingiana. My Hoya Bella outer variegation. A little Hoya lacunosa. My Dischidia hirsuta rooting. A small Hoya carnosa crimson queen. And last but definitely not least, my Hoya numelarioides. And on the desk against the eastern wall, we have a cutting of Hoya pandurata Vietnam that's rooting, tucked in underneath my Hoya latifolia. And my Hoya odorata, which finally seems to have settled in. I've got a couple small Hoya carnosa Chelseas. And next to my staghorn fern, I have my Hoya leonensis, which I showed a couple weeks ago when it was in bloom. On the wall next to the shelf is my Hoya lithophytica, which is something of a rambler, but he's doing okay. It might be time to take some cuttings and fill out that pot. And then right next to it is my Hoya species affinity serpens, who really did not like the hot temperatures in the plant room. So we found a new location. I need to find a better spot for him, but he's doing okay. On the top shelf of the south wall, we have my Hoya Fichi, and my Hoya David Kamingi, which is almost constantly in bloom now. That beautiful spicy scent just fills the house. Next to that is Hoya species NS12323, which is a really, really lush plant. And above that is my Hoya spartioides, which is almost always in bloom and always growing. And boy, that was a good call on my part. And then we have my Hoya lacunosa and Hoya lacunosa with inner variegation. And beneath all those is the Hoya verticillata black margin. And on the front of the upper shelf is my Hoya Daikie, which is in some stage of blooming. I can't remember whether it's coming or going. Next to it is my Hoya verticillata Vietnam, which got a little too thirsty and got a little too dry, but it'll bounce back. Next is my Hoya nabawanensis, which is also blooming. And finally on this shelf is my Hoya latifolia rangsan, which has just turned into a beautiful, beautiful plant. So that's the top shelf. On the back wall of the lower shelf, I have my Hoya Lee and Hoya Iris Marie, which is just, I like the plant. I wish it would bloom for me, but it disappears off 3 or 4 feet in that direction. To the left of Iris Marie is Hoya RHM009, doing okay. And finally, back in this corner is my Hoya obovata, which for the last month has been blooming up a storm, which also means It's been dripping nectar everywhere. Let's see if I can get the shot of those. On the right side, I have two Hoya caudata Sumatras that too have been blooming. They're in between runs right now, but they've been doing very well and blooming like crazy. And finishing off the front of the bottom shelf is my Hoya fungi, which has just put on a whole bunch of growth this season. Very happy about that. Love to see it bloom. Are you taking notes? Love to see you bloom. And on the floor in front of the shelf, I have my Hoya Loki and my Hoya Deki Poulet, which has been blooming consistently. I was sent this by mistake, and I'm not regretting that mistake. And next to it is my Dischidia acuminata. No, my Dischidia acutifolia. Acuminata is on my wish list. Very pretty Dischidia. I'm happy with this one. It took it a while to be happy with being here, but eventually it did. And finally, my Hoya curtisii. I was so happy when I found this plant, and it's just been a good, beautiful little grower. And so that's the setup of the bottom shelf of the east wall. And I want to thank you for choosing to spend a little bit of your time with me this weekend. Please remember to click the thumbs up like button, the subscribe button, the notification bell. They all help with the YouTube algorithm. A lot of the products that you see me use in these videos are available through my Amazon storefront, and there's a link in the description below. If you'd like to contribute financially to the channel, you can click on the 3 dots button and then the thanks button, or you can go to my Buy Me a Coffee page, and that link is in the description box below as well. I'm going to put links to a couple more videos over on this side that you might enjoy, and enjoy the rest of your week's end.